Good evening. I'm late. That's how I'm starting out tonight. How are you? It is Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. You found the Deerwood Realty livestream. I'm your host, John Schenk. I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri, a small residential real estate firm. It's just me. And I help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. Tonight I do the Deerwood Realty livestream, which is what you're watching right now. And what that's going to be about tonight is a lot of things. We're going to talk about PPE loans to real estate agents. Is that a good plan? Spoiler alert. We're going to talk about Bretton Woods. You won't. How many live streams out there are talking about Bretton Woods and the value of the dollar? Well, we know one. We're going to talk about a twin house. Do you know what a twin house is? I had no idea, but I did sneak a look at the article. And then what else we got? A very interesting article that pits, I would say that's basically ageism. It pits boomers against millennials in the ultimate battle for the perfect home. That's about it. That's what we'll be doing tonight. If that seems like something you'd be interested in, you should probably stay on and watch. If it doesn't sound that great to you, by all means, goodbye. You know, I have worked many hours on my lighting. And this is the best I've gotten so far. I really don't understand exactly what's going on. I'm trying to there's like this little space right here and a little space right here that I'd really like to get rid of. And then if I did that, I feel like it would be perfect. I feel like that would be the moment that I got it all right. The two contrasting lights in the back have created a warmth and a depth that I'm enjoying. The lights for the front, I used to have on the top, and they used to be right on my head. And it just made my face just white, and I don't look like that in real life. And I don't want any of you to meet me someday and say, my God, that guy has actually got some color to him. Anyway, got a showing tomorrow night. So I don't know if I'll be late or not. I do feel like I should explain my lateness tonight. I was putting stuff together and I didn't get it done in time to start at 9. So I apologize. As far as things I haven't accomplished that are on the list, I've not tracked down the source of that hard drive and USBs, all the USB inputs freaking out at once and cutting the camera and the microphone. Would you think that would be on the top of my list to do today? But I honestly didn't get to it. I also have not programmed the Roadcaster. It's just sitting here gathering dust. So, but I did check last night for updates after the show. Didn't find any. That's not good. All right. Well, I figure we should get started with the show. And the thing I wanted to start off with was something that happened to me tonight at dinner, actually. And I wanted to kind of go over it with you. So we're sitting at dinner, and the stepdaughter says she's around 14. She says, when I grow up, I want to buy a car or a van to live in, and then I can go different places, and I can afford it. And I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because, to me, there is this admittedly antiquated concept or belief in the American dream, this idea that you can achieve, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. It was a great sales pitch long ago, and it worked. It worked, but in this case, I was like, are you saying you don't want these things because you don't feel like you can afford them in the future? Like, you think you can only afford a van to live in? And, it's weird. I don't like to. I always with the kids. I always try and work on their thinking. I don't like negative thoughts. I just think that you can get yourself in a spiral, and I think that you should, be positive always. And then with like myself, when I'm sarcastic as I am, I will be sarcastic when I'm being positive as well. It's hard to read. But, like when you're doing a real estate deal and it collapses and you're like, well, I'm thankful that deal collapsed, so I have, more time to sit around and be pissed off that I just got a deal lost. It's circular thinking. I get it. But anyway, with the kids, I don't want them to think that they can't have this and they can't have that if they don't go work for it. Now, I am highly suspect of the way the world is going, at least in the United States, and what their real opportunities will be in the future. But again, it doesn't do us any good to be negative. So we fire on the positive side. Now, look, I do think that you could make a great case that there's no child graduating college, no child graduating high school is going to be able to afford a house. I think you could make that case. I mean, I think the median income to afford a $300,000 house is over $100,000, I believe. Don't quote me on that. So, I mean, and I don't know how many jobs are paying $100K when you get out of college as an undergraduate. And so then you have the issue with automobiles. Of course, we've talked about this because I want a car and I can't get one. I want a used car. And I mean, anything less than $20,000 is damn near garbage right now. And I just can't imagine it. I mean, I thought $10,000 was too much for a car. So now that we're at 20, my mind is just totally blown. So you can't afford a house, you can't afford a car, and you can't afford, you can afford college, but now you're in debt, which leads to not being able to afford a new car or a new car to you or a new house. I can see this. I don't think that's negative. I think that's real. I think you could definitely see that. Add to that the social upheaval that we have going on, and you can really make a negative case. However, being negative doesn't solve the issues of our time. Whatever you think those are, I don't know. But I wanted to show you something that I saw. Just this. I'm not saying that I'm this person, but I did just want you to see this little tweet here. I saw it today, and it got my attention. It's Peter Thiel on pessimism. It says, if you think you're going to win, it doesn't mean you're going to win. If you think you're going to lose, you will lose. If you think you're going to get an A+ on the test, you won't always get an A+. If you think you're going to get an F, you'll always get an F. I mean, I feel like mentally that's where I'm at. Is this like, look, we have to be positive. No matter how negative things are. It does no good to dwell in the negative. And so I don't, you ever heard The Secret? That's kind of weird, but this idea that you speak things into being. Now, it's not really worked in my life. Don't get me wrong. And I don't do the affirmations thing. But I again, sometimes I do sit down and I say, hey, like, you might be being a little bit too negative. No one likes a negative ninny. So you tell me what you think. Put it in the comments, put it in the chat. Do you have, kids that are growing up to say that they're never going to be able to afford a house or a car anyway? So they're starting to change their social patterns? Like, that might be a larger conversation for another day, but just look at, like, I'll just tell you how I grew up. We grew up watching Friends. There's 3 roommates that lived in an apartment in New York City because they obviously couldn't afford their own places. And, there was all these struggles. with young people. When you get older, these issues aren't really the major issues. But, there's quite a bit of discussion in the home building, the home design space of first floor masters suites, and then in-law quarters. And the thought was always that, well, these people with foreign backgrounds, that they've come from families where that you live in multi-generational housing. And so for them, this is the houses just aren't built that way here, and maybe they should be. Now, were you having multi-generational housing in different parts of the world because you couldn't afford a home of your own? And then, should the government, which, as you know, I'm not real optimistic about, should the government step in, or should someone make the connection that perhaps the fiscal policies of the United States are causing social upheaval and change in a negative way, and perhaps they ought not to do those things? Or at least they should examine them. It's a very, as I've gotten older, it's a very odd thing. You say, hands off the government, right? Let the government is all knowing and all powerful. And it's like, and then you say, well, but then you clamor to the government for repairs or fixes to issues that can only be solved by the government. And it's a very odd relationship you as a citizen have with this group. I don't know. I'm just going down the path, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe this isn't a good thing. Maybe some of the social issues of our time are being exacerbated by affordability. And that's probably not a good thing. All right. There, I did it. I said it. Hope that wasn't too controversial. If it was, I think there's more controversial things I could have said than that. So I thought that was rather mild. Moving on. You can't see this yet, but I will put it up for you. I saw this today, and I put it in the notes as Apple is now in the layaway business. Great. So to me, this is a very fascinating thing. Okay, I'll put it out there to you. Do you think it's a good thing that Apple is doing this pay later service? And by that, I mean, do you think it's just generally good? So on the surface, I would say this is generally good. Isn't that great? Buy now, pay later. But then I go back to my childhood, and it's like, this is layaway. This is layaway. You can't afford their products anymore, and so you must make payments on them. That's tough. I come from a time where they gave away free cell phones. They literally gave them away. Not Apple, but I mean the whole idea. And now we've got a situation where, I don't know, I have no idea. I've got the internet. Why don't I just go look? A MacBook Pro starts at $2,000. Now, is it better than my computer that I spent about the same on? I don't know. It's not a laptop, so there's that. I don't even know what a Mac Pro would go for. I'm looking at the site right now and I'm just like, ew. So anyway, I'm a little concerned about the buy now, pay later. Let's talk about it. Let's go through the article. It says, Apple on Tuesday introduced Apple Pay Later. So I'm a day late, I'm sorry. Which will allow users to split purchases into 4 payments spread over the course of 6 weeks. Which to me is odd because like people normally get paid bi-weekly or monthly. And well, bi-weekly or bi-monthly, but the 15th and the 30th or something like that. And so 6 weeks, it doesn't seem like, if you're saving up for your rent, if you're saving up for your house payment, it seems like that's not so great. A firm which also offers buy now, pay later software closed down 7% on the news. Well, why are we financing these things? Like, this doesn't seem like a good idea. It says Apple Pay Later users will be able to manage, track, and repay their loans in their Apple Wallet, the company said in a release. Individuals can apply for Apple Pay Later loans of between $50 and $1,000 and use them for in-app and online purchases made through merchants that accept Apple Pay. Payments have no interest and no fees. Now, this is so now just to be clear, it's not just Apple products that you can buy with Apple Pay Now, Pay Later. Now, I suspect that Apple's sitting on a ton of cash to be able to offer this. I've not looked at their balance sheet in a while, but I can look at that too. It's 80 pages. I don't know. I don't mean to be so. I want the financial statements. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry, this is taking a while. Okay. So in the year ended September 24th, 2022, they're sitting on 35. If that's true, let me look at a different state because I don't want to mislead anybody. it says their quarter revenue was $97.3 billion. Anyway, they have a lot of money just sitting there. So they could, I mean, they can afford to play the finance game. Just want to make sure I don't have anybody just coming at me on the chat because I was kind of, all right, good. Sorry, I was kind of in my own little world there. Anyway, the MasterCard installments program enables Apple Pay Later. So merchants that already accept Apple Pay will not need to make any changes to implement software for their customers. Users can apply for a loan within the Apple Wallet app without it affecting their credit score, Apple said. Once they select the amount they would like to withdraw, a soft credit pull will be conducted to make sure they're in good financial position to take on a loan. Apple will invite select people to access a pre-release version of Apple Pay Later on Tuesday. Like, who would that be? People that can't afford something? And the company said it plans to expand across all eligible users in the coming months. Approved users will see a pay later option while using Apple Pay to check out online and in apps on iPhones and iPads. They'll also be able to apply for a loan right at checkout, which, how long is that going to take? Last thing I want to do is be behind somebody in a Walmart or a Walgreens and be like, it just seems like a bad idea. Apple said using the software will be authenticated using Face ID, Touch ID, or a passcode. The company said users can see the amount due for their existing loans as well as the total amount due in the next 30 days in Apple Wallet. Users will be asked to link a debit card as their loan repayment method. Credit cards won't be accepted. More transparent and flexible payment options that can displace credit cards are good for consumers, especially when they have no late or hidden fees, and a firm spokesperson said. I don't even know, why did they ask a firm about Apple Pay Later? I don't know. I refuse to believe that a company such as Apple that had, what, $98 billion in a quarter revenue? I refuse to believe that they're doing something out of the generosity of their own heart. Like, I feel like there's some sort of angle here we're missing. And I feel like it would have to do something with the interest payments if you don't manage to pay over the 6 periods. Do you remember, like, this is just between you and me and the internet. Do you remember back in the day, like, people would get, like, I want to say the Nobel Peace Prize. I'll look that up too. This might be John Looks Up. This might be John Looks Up Things on the internet tonight. And so what were we doing? So yeah. All right, good. So Mohammed Yunus and Grameen Bank were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2006 for their work to create economic and social development from below, which was basically microfinancing. Okay. Is Apple doing microfinancing? I don't know. The whole thing is kind of sus. Stick to making phones. Overpriced, expensive things. All right, so that was fun. Next thing I wanted to go over with you, I think we've talked about this in the past. I did not apply for a PPE loan because the very definition of the loan to me means something I have to pay back, right? And like they all said like, oh, no, you won't have to pay it back. It's going to be forgiven. Well, that's not a loan. That's not a loan at all. That's you handing me money. And I hate to say this, but nothing is free. There's always a cost. We just don't know what it's going to be. In the case of PPE loans, I suspect it's going to be decades of inflation. Yay. And, you know, if your personal stance is that the PPE loans were just fantastic and wonderful, we can still be friends. I'm just saying for me, I didn't want to have anything to do with them. The more the government has in your back pocket, the more control they have over you. And I mean, you may say, well, John, that's antiquated. They've already, they can get rid of you in a moment. Okay. I get what you're saying, but I don't want to make it that easy. Make it that easy for them. So anyway, I said no. And you say, well, John, did that hurt your business? It doesn't matter if it did or didn't. I didn't want to be a part of it. Again, if you want to say if we're going to give grants to every company that exists, we're going to hand them free money because we think that such and such is a bad deal and things are going south. Okay. All right. But to call it a loan, a forgivable loan, well, you know, my thought then was, well, what could possibly go wrong? Well, then you could get charged with PPP fraud. And it's a real estate agent. And in a way, I want to feel for this woman, but in a way, I don't. It's like you were going to, and I would like to know at the end of the day, how many arrests are made, how many people's lives are ruined because they took the money, because it was being thrown at them. Let's look into this. It says a Miami real estate agent was charged with fraud and money laundering. Wow. Linked to $381,000 in COVID-19 relief funds that she allegedly used to pay for a Bentley, cosmetic procedures, and a luxury apartment rental. Daniela Rendon, who hangs her license with Prestige Empire Realty, has been active in Sunny Isles Beach, posting on social media about or working on projects that include estates at Aquilina and mansions at Aquilina and Bentley residences. She was also part of the 57 Ocean sales team in Miami Beach. Rendon's deals include the $35,500 monthly rental of a unit at mansions at Aquilina, according to a traded post from 2021. I don't know what traded is. Rendon allegedly submitted fraudulent applications for COVID-19 federal relief funds to the Small Business Administration and Paycheck Protection Program by falsifying her revenue, payroll, and IRS tax forms. Now, did she really falsify them, or was she too stupid to fill them out? And you say, John, what did you just say? Did you say a real estate agent's too stupid to fill out the federal forms? That's terrible. Look, I'm a real estate agent. Have you looked at those forms? I have no idea what they're talking about. She allegedly used the money to lease a 2021 Bentley Bentayga, which she highlighted on her Instagram account. Well, that's smart. That's marketing. She has more than 33,000 followers on the social media platform where she posts about her luxurious lifestyle. Paid for by you. This year's model of the Bentley SUV costs upwards of $3,000 a month to lease, depending on the length of the lease and the mileage, according to the car dealer's website. Now, look, it doesn't. I've heard. Now, look, I'm not wealthy. I'm not independently wealthy. So I've heard that when you're wealthy, you lease cars because they break, and you don't want to be stuck with the maintenance. But see, that's totally against the way I live. I mean, like, I should own something, right? Because then I have it forever. Like, it's going to last forever. But we know that cars don't last forever. Anyway, she allegedly used the funds for her Biscayne Bay apartment rental, dermatology procedures, and to refinish her designer shoes. Well, now I didn't know you could even refinish designer shoes. Rendon was indicted on 2 counts of money laundering, 7 counts of wire fraud, and 1 count of aggravated identity theft. Court records show if she's convicted, she could face up to 20 years in prison. So, okay, so she has not been convicted. Okay, so she's innocent. The alleged fraud took place between April 20th and April 2022, according to the complaint prepared by U.S. Attorney Markinzy LaPointe and Assistant U.S. Attorney Jonathan Balin. Rendon, like, see, I'm kind of curious as how did she allegedly do the crime? Rendon, through companies called Rendon PA and Rendon Holdings, allegedly submitted fake information regarding the number of employees, monthly payroll, gross revenue, and cost of goods sold to obtain 2 loans, a $317,290 PPP loan and a $10,000 SBA loan. She enrolled in ADP to funnel the cash to her companies, friends, and family. Well, at least she was like passing the good around, right? That included 2 wire transfers in 2020 and 2021 to Miami ENT LLC for nearly $75,000 combined. The company is managed by Andre Lorquette, who the U.S. Attorney's Office for Southern District of Florida indicted on similar charges last year for allegedly submitting fraudulent applications seeking nearly $5 million in pandemic relief funds. South Florida, often referred to as the country's fraud capital. Well, did you know that? I did not know that. Has seen its fair share of PPP-related fraud cases, with many of the alleged perpetrators using federal funds to buy luxury cars, homes, and other pricey items. You mean these people weren't paying their employees that didn't exist? It seems wrong. Last summer, Bal Harbor-based developer Eric Shepard was indicted on a felony count of wire fraud for allegedly submitting false and fraudulent applications to obtain COVID-19 financial assistance loans on behalf of 6 companies he managed in 4 states, including 3 based in Bal Harbor. The government alleged he stole nearly $900,000 in PPP funds. I like the $5 million one. Like I've said, like, for me to advertise, if you want to advertise on my live stream, it'll cost $10 million. I have 154 subscribers as of today. I don't know what that breaks out to, but it's a lot per subscriber. But I'm worth it. I mean, if I'm going out, it's not going to be on some like little amount of money. So I feel like I did the right thing. After that, I went to her. Look, I'm a real estate agent and I have Deerwood Realty, and so I went to her Instagram page. I believe it's possible. Now, I don't know, when did she post this? The woman behind the dream. 60 weeks ago. So I guess she's been kind of quiet on. Oh, look at that. Is that how she's doing it? No. Let's just look here. Look at that. And then she says, let your brand speak for itself. Ironic. That's a Rolls Royce. I do not believe that's a Bentley Bentayga, right? Because a Rolls Royce and Bentley, two different companies. There she is watering a horse. Oh. It says, first ride after several months and my smile says it all. After Paco's death, I decided to take a break from riding, but I must say this passion makes me feel so alive. Riding Pacifico, but with Paco in my heart. I'm guessing Paco's a dead horse. Oh, look, let me be the one. This was only 10 weeks ago. So, I mean, she's doing fine. And this is free advertising for her. If you're down in Miami and it doesn't hurt. I mean, if this is what you want, let me be the one that finds your dream home. Well, I don't know. What is she trying to sell here? Is she trying to sell an apartment like that? She needs a sold sign right here. Roll it down a little bit. I only did it up because the microphone was here. I got to go back here. Again, selling. I see no houses in this picture. There's another. I don't know about this. This doesn't seem like we're in the same league. Wow. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Not selling real estate in any of these pictures. There you go. There's some real estate. Oh my God. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to close that because, well, let me go here. Let me do this the right way. Let me go here because I don't want you to see what's next. It's not going to be Daniela Rendon. Or if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. I'm not, look, the government said, here, have some free money. Okay. That's what they did. There were ads on television. There were ads on the radio. You need this loan. That's not a loan. I don't blame her. I'm sure there's thousands of people, maybe into the millions, who have fidged on their PPP loan application. Some will get away with it. Many will not. I have been, just if in case you, did I turn it off? I might have. I did. I've been doing, I think I can get it back though. I also have a new page that I've been working on. And let's see, I don't know I don't work the Facebook really that well. Do I really not follow my own page? That seems strange. Let me see if I can get to it. I can. I wasn't even following my own new Instagram page. How bad is that? It's bad. But let me get it over here. So you saw Angela Rendon's page. I think you should see mine. If I can get the... There's mine. So where is it Angela? I forgot her name even already. Anyway, so here's my first picture. It's a picture of a GoPro. Here's me having fun with the idea of modeling. I mean, look at that. There's a cat. There's a me. There's a me. There's my computer. I just built that. It's pretty sweet. There's me. There's me. Now, Angela Rendon. We're going with Angela because I forgot her name already. That is me. I feel like I know who you would pick to sell your house between me and Angela. It is what it is, right? We're all born with certain gifts, and I'm still trying to find mine. Well, that was fun. Let's move over to Deerwood Realty, the homepage, which I've not fixed, and that drives me nuts, and I'm sorry. But and I need to check something else here too. Man, I just can't get ahead. There's just always something to do. 30-year fix came in at 6.61%. That was an increase of 1 basis point from yesterday. Is that going to cause problems in the marketplace? No, things are already terrible. They're terrible in the sense that, like, the affordability thing is bad. You can't afford a home without taking on massive amounts of debt. That's just not fun. So let's go to some tweets. Here's the first one. This is going to be kind of fun because I've got it set up in a fascinating way. So this is a tweet that's been circulating the internet. It's weird, only 3,423 retweets because I've seen it like all over the place. It says the US dollar is losing its reserve currency status. Here's what you should know. A thread. That's what that means. Let me just make sure I've got it so that you can see it because I've screwed that up before. It says the US dollar has been in the backbone of the global economy for decades. Several countries even use the US dollar as official currency, like El Salvador, Panama, and Ecuador. I did not know that. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. 44 countries agreed to a global monetary system that would be underpinned by the US dollar, which in turn was backed by gold. That system was done away with in 1971. And I will attack Nixon for this and China. I will. I don't care. And also, I think that the currency should be backed by gold. I feel like we defaulted in 1971. And then also, a fiat currency never works. I think that's ridiculous. Finally, you really need to ask yourself, if I can remember, what it was that I was going to ask myself. Oh, it's an observation, actually. Can you believe that we were trying to control the world, we being the human race, as far back as 1944? And you say, well, John, the World War I was, but yeah, I get that. But I'm just saying, like, we talk about globalization as if it's something new, as if like it just started happening in the 90s. Historically, the U.S. dollar has been a safe haven for international investors. In times of crisis, money often flows in the U.S. dollar as investors seek refuge from the trouble in other economies. But 2014 was a huge turning point. Russia and China looked to shift the paradigm. They no longer wanted to rely on the U.S. dollar for international trade investment. This trend is called de-dollarization. Now, look, I don't understand this in 2014. This is 2023. But it does say in 2014, that's where this headline is, but they're still trying to do this. De-dollarization is happening everywhere. Central banks bought gold at a faster pace last year than they have in any year since 1987. This signals a desire for countries to back their own currencies with gold rather than the U.S. dollar, which I think whatever you want to, I don't care what we use. I think that a fiat currency is a disaster. I really do. Today, trade is shifting away from the purview of the United States dollar. Take a look at how the volume of Chinese-Russian trade denominated in yuan has spiked since the start of 2022. Other markets are shifting to the yuan as China becomes a more influential superpower. But isn't the yuan tied to the U.S. dollar artificially? But this fight is far from over for the dollar. The dollar still dominates foreign exchange reserves, but that lead is slowly being chipped away. Here's a chart from the Federal Reserve that shows how foreign exchange reserves have changed since 2000. The dollar has been slowly but steadily losing its share of foreign reserves. But look at how big the euro is, and we're not talking about that. Does this mean the U.S. dollar is doomed? No, not at all. It's still considered one of the most stable currencies, if not the most stable currency in the world. There's still going to be a strong demand for U.S. dollars, but now the dollar has some serious competition. I had a guy on TikTok the other day. It's like, we have more gold than anyone else, so we're going to win. You shouldn't worry about the dollar at all. And I said, it's a YouTube short, and I don't really want to get into this conversation with you because I don't know you and I don't know what's going on. I have no idea I don't know how to. Start your comments with like a hello or something. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting thread. What I thought was more interesting is Markets and Mayhem writes, I wish we could have more reasoned discussion about topics like this. They're important to talk about, and they don't require this level of hyperbole. The reality is that the U.S. dollar's reserve status isn't changing anytime soon. Yes, it isn't an exciting take, but it's true. Sensationalism gets good clicks, though, sadly so. My friend, sadly. So that's true. I feel like I could get like viral tweets and stuff if I wanted to. I feel like I could do better on YouTube too if I did some more sensationalism. Like the market's gonna crater and you're all gonna, but I'm not that guy. I like to just kind of bring you what I see. And you have responded by subscribing to me in numbers. But then you get this. Unusual whales breaking. China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, ditching the U.S. dollar as an intermediary. Now that just came out. And then why does that matter? It says China is Brazil's biggest trading partner with a record $150.5 billion in bilateral trade last year. Notably as well, Saudi Arabia joined China-led security bloc and trade alliance with Russia, India, and Pakistan and others, per CNBC. We're leaving that. I don't want to fight over the reserve currency. I just think that we should not have a fiat currency. This was an interesting thread. This is from Jeff Winiger. He follows me, so he gets special privileges. But I started following him first because he writes good stuff. The exodus of California housing trend. Okay, I like the threads here. Here we go. The 2022 U-Haul Growth Index ranked California 50th again, the biggest gap in moving vans and trucks going out of the state versus coming in. It was also number 50 in 2021 and 2020. Before that, California would trade the number 49 and 50th spot with Illinois. With home prices equal to 8.49 times income, California housing is unaffordable. Housing activity is freezing. Some homeowners who refinance their mortgage at 2.75% or 3% would like to sell so they can move to Arizona or Nevada, but they can't get it done if the next mortgage has to be 6%. If mortgage rates fall, many can sell, then leave. Silicon Valley Bank was the lender of choice beyond just the San Francisco tech scene. Wine country, for example, is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and much of that lending was coming from SVB. It's beyond tech. But even if we want to focus on tech, it's not going to be good for house prices. There were tech layoffs hitting long before the March 10th insolvency of SVB. That's Silicon Valley Bank. Unemployed people don't buy houses in Palo Alto. California is more economically sensitive than other states. It's a boom and bust type of place. The state's unemployment rate is ticking up again. That's what happens in recessions. California's labor situation gets hit harder than the rest of the country. The biggest red dot on office vacancy is San Francisco. This chart is for calendar 2022, so it doesn't capture the January, February, and March tech layoffs or the March 2023 bank runs. Problematic. I'm not quibbling with the author in his unemployment rate, but full employment is between 3 and 5% in the country. So they're still doing fine at 4.3%. In 2016, a house in California was $235,000 more expensive than a house in Texas. Now it's $334,475 more expensive. Remember the Utahs out of California into Texas. There's now a bigger tech scene in Texas than in 2016 too. So it's easier to find employment there. 10 out of 10 in the 1960s. There were hit songs like California Dreaming and an entire genre of music dedicated to surfing there. You packed up your car and you moved to California for opportunities. Now, population loss, different vibe, California leaving. My stepdaughter wanted to move to Los Angeles with her best friend growing up. And I was skeptical of that being a good idea. So she got the opportunity to visit out there, I believe for about a week. And after that week, she came home and said, there's no way I would ever live in that horrible place. And how can you have a place where like everybody says it's so wonderful, but then when you go there, it's just a scary, disastrous, horrible place? I mean, she's got a point. I'm going to go with Nick Gurley. I don't know. I should watch his YouTube channel and see what he's talking about, but I'm not. I've got my own to do. But anyway, he writes a thread. I did like his post. Apartment builders are going crazy right now. 1.1 million apartment units currently in construction and permitting. 60% higher than pre-pandemic. Double peak set at the 2007 bubble. This is bad news for real estate investors, means lower rents are coming. What's especially concerning for real estate investors is that they're already dealing with lots of empty apartments. Take Phoenix, for example. Data from Apartment List shows that the vacancy rate has surged up to 7.2%, the highest level in at least 6 years. Las Vegas is another. The vacancy rate has more than tripled from 2.5 to 8.3% in less than 2 years. Rents have already started to go down in these markets. Why are rental vacancy rates already going up so much? One reason is evictions. Lots of metros in America have now surpassed their pre-pandemic eviction levels. Take Jacksonville, for example. Turns out the moratorium's free money was just a Band-Aid. So you combine evictions with lots of building with a recession or near recession, and you have problems brewing in the rental market, which will invariably spill over into the housing market because declining rents will eventually translate into declining prices. Now, here's what we're seeing. Here's what's interesting now. These issues in the rental market are occurring alongside major lows in home buyer demand. Mortgage apps to buy a house finished March 2023 its lowest level in 28 years. Which is weird because it's pretty strong in St. Louis still. Theoretically, lower homebuyer demand should mean more demand to rent, but that's not happening. Demand for both buying and renting is declining, suggesting there's a broader housing recession occurring in America independent of Fed rate hikes. Fed rate hikes, mortgage rates. One of my favorite metrics to look at is comparing cost to buy versus rent, also known as how much is mortgage, taxes, insurance versus apartment rent. The more it costs to buy than rent, the more exposed the city is to a housing crash. Check the cities in red on this map. Ooh, they're out west. In metro areas like Seattle, it costs 110% more to buy than rent. So your buy cost is $4,600 a month. Your rent cost is $2,200 a month. It's very clear that Seattle's housing market is going to have issues for a while based on this discrepancy. I mean, why would any renter buy? In other metros where buying is way more expensive than renting, San Jose, San Francisco, Austin, Salt Lake, Los Angeles, Portland, Provo, Denver, unlikely to see any meaningful housing recovery in these markets until the cost to buy comes way down. Ultimately, the trends in rental markets suggest broader housing market will continue to crash. Now, this is just the word crash. I don't know what that means. Is that 20%? Is that 50%? Huge construction backlog, increasing vacancy rates, lower rents, increasing gap between buy versus rent costs. And then he plugs the ReVenture app, which is fine. I don't know. Broke agent on Twitter. You aren't officially a real estate agent until you've said the phrase, "Nothing surprises me at this point." Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Like, I don't know how many times I get stuck saying, well, it should. But I've seen it not work out. You know, hey, have you ever seen this? No, but I'm not surprised. That is very true. Let's get into our articles tonight. Do you know what a twin home is? I don't know what a twin home is. I've never heard of the word. And then all of a sudden it's in this article. Thought we should take a look at it. It says, I keep seeing twin home real estate listings, but what actually are they? I have not seen any twin home real estate listings. So this ought to be good. As a real estate writer, I often find myself talking about the subject with friends and combing through for sale listings just for fun. So when one of my pals mentioned finding a lot of twin homes during research, I started noticing them too. How do I not know what these are? I asked myself. I can identify duplexes and townhomes without a problem. Twin homes actually look very similar to them, but I certainly hadn't heard of them referred to as such. So like any good reporter, I did some digging to discover the definition. Before I reveal what a twin home is, it helps to understand what it isn't. Interesting. I don't know about this. It's very interesting. I can identify duplexes and townhouses without a problem. I don't know that I can. It says a twin home isn't a duplex. Which I would have thought that would be a twin home. So I'm wrong. But now I'm right because I've read the article and I won't make that mistake again. A duplex is defined as two homes that share a wall and are owned by the same person. According to the Duplex Doctors, a real estate company that specializes in selling duplexes. This sort of multifamily building is a nice compromise between apartment and single-family living, as the building itself can be one or multiple stories. Duplex owners typically rent out one or both sides of the duplex, and renters live in their unit much like they would live in an apartment, but with the feel of a single-family home. Okay. I have a friend that owns a duplex. I don't think you would call it a twin home. A twin home isn't a townhouse. A townhouse or townhome is a multi-story unit that is part of a row of other units where the middle units share two walls and the end units share one. Some townhouse owners live in the homes while others rent them out. A block or row of townhouses can have different individual owners and may have a small yard in the front or back. So you're saying a duplex wouldn't have a yard? So what is a twin home? A twin home is defined as two single-family homes that share a wall but have separate owners. The lot line of a twin home splits between the home and the property, creating two separate lots and therefore two separate properties per Realtor.com. Because the owner owns the home, they are at liberty. We would call that a villa here. I would call it a villa. Anyway, this means that this yard can be landscaped and maintained differently. The exterior of each side of the building can be different. Colors are clad in different materials, and even the roof can be different. Twin homes are treated as single-family homes, so they are financed just as any single-family home would be, and taxed the same as well. I'll have to talk to Shelley, the mortgage lender, about that. I don't know if that's true or not. The pros and cons of owning a twin home. Let me get a drink. I'm going to cough. There are certainly upsides and downsides to owning a twin home. Oh, I mean, like in life, there are choices. Sometimes we just take the choice that is less terrible. There are certainly upsides and downsides to owning a twin home. If you're seriously considering one as part of your search, I've started a pro and con list for you. Keep these qualities in mind as you tour. Okay. Pro, a twin home is financed and taxed as a single-family home. That's a pro. It may be more affordable than a standalone single-family home. You can maintain it as you would any other single-family home. You could rent it out if you decide to no longer live there. Cons, you share a nut wall with your neighbors, which can reduce privacy. Your home may look different or be maintained differently than your neighbor. That's a con. Now that you know what a twin home is and what their strong suits and pitfalls are, happy hunting. Well, thanks. This is kind of from yesterday. It's a better write-up. It was written today, but it's a better write-up than what we got yesterday. Sorry, I was checking on something. Why U.S. home buyers should delay purchases, Yale economist said. Now, we saw that article yesterday, and let's see if it's a little bit better written today in a different format. I think that was Bloomberg we were reading it from. Anyway, an ongoing plunge in U.S. home prices represents an opportunity for patient house shoppers, famed Yale University economist Robert Shiller stated this week. So if I were a professor, okay, was at an Ivy League institution, and I said something about housing, in theory, you should listen to that person over me because they're more learned. Which is absolutely insane if you think about it, because like they're not selling houses every day. They're like not in on. They're just not. They're not part of. They're just looking at the market. They're not part of it. Home price decline, but that's the way the world works. Home price declines are expected to accelerate this year as the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rates hikes weighs on the U.S. economy and force sellers to sweeten the deal for buyers. Now, this is a narrative that we haven't seen here in St. Louis. As a result, prospective home buyers willing to postpone their plans by 6 months or so could secure a more affordable deal, according to Shiller, who co-developed the original methodology behind the closely watched S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index. His last name is in the index, so I suspect he had something to do with it. Home prices are very high by historical standards. I would extrapolate the downturn somewhat. Also, if you're a Yale professor, you can use the word extrapolate. The only time you've ever heard me use extrapolate was just now when I was reading the Yale professor. Maybe if you have a chance to delay your purchase, it might be a good time to do it. You might get a little cheaper in another 6 months. Well, that's true. You might. You might not. We don't know. Surging mortgage rates have further crimped affordability in the U.S. housing market following a massive run-up in prices during the COVID-19 pandemic. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was 6.42% through last week, according to Freddie Mac data. The rate is up by 2% compared to the same week 1 year ago. Has it really been that long that we've been in the sixes? That's hard to believe. Sellers have began slashing prices to entice cash-strapped buyers to re-enter the market. So in some places, yes. U.S. single-home family prices fell for the seventh straight month in January, declining by 0.2% compared to December, according to the latest S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index released Tuesday. Shiller signaled he expects the U.S. housing market to remain under pressure in the months ahead. That's the capitalist system with a central bank, Shiller told CNBC. I think it works pretty well most of the time, and I wouldn't tinker too much with it. We have smart people on the Fed and the Treasury Secretary. I admire Janet Yellen. Oh, my God, I'm about ready to throw up. They may have to accept something of a recession. Ugh. Shiller acknowledged that there are other factors besides economic conditions that determine the right time for any buyer to sell. Shiller acknowledged that there are other factors besides economic conditions that determine the right time for any buyer or seller to act depending on their situation. Well, yeah, do you really think that people sell things at the most ideal time? For instance, if you die, okay, you're there dead. Like, it may be an inconvenient time to sell your house. You know, I mean, it's really annoying. Home purchase is such a family decision. I'd hate to overreact. We do have a declining market at the moment, but there are costs to not selling at the right time, the convenient time, or you might lose a house that you like to someone else. I don't think it's an easy answer to that question. It never really is, Mr. Shiller, Professor Shiller. It never really is an easy decision to buy or sell a home, especially one that you like or that you want to like. In February, overall, U.S. home prices posted a year-over-year decline for the first time since 2012, according to the National Association of Realtors. The decline snapped a record streak of 131 consecutive months of gains. The median sale price for previously owned U.S. homes dropped to $363,000 in February, a decrease of 0.2% compared to the same month 1 year earlier, and the median price was $363,000. It looks like that's the exact same. I'm going to read it again. The median sale price for previously owned U.S. homes dropped to $363,000 in February, a decrease of 0.2% compared to the same month 1 year earlier, when the median price was $363,000. They've marked that incorrectly. Anyway, some economists have predicted major declines ahead for the housing market this year. Earlier this month, researchers at the Dallas Fed warned that prices would need a 19.5% correction to bring the U.S. in line with its fundamentals. Whose fundamentals? Okay. Final article. This is the one that I'm kind of uncomfortable about because I don't like pitting people against each other. Okay? So millennials and boomers, Generation Zers versus Generation Xers. There's another one, but I forgot what they're called. Trying to remember that. Anyway, I've seen this in tweets, by the way, and it's this idea that, like, boomers, they're looked at negatively because the Fed has manipulated asset prices during their lifetime, which gave them all their wealth. They didn't actually work for it. It was just all price manipulation. And then this, in turn, causes angst amongst those young families looking to start a home, or, start in the home purchase journey because they're getting beat out by millennials who are having the chutzpah to downsize. Anyway, it's baby boomers versus millennials in the housing market's own version of the Hunger Games. And in today's cutthroat environment, where there is a severe shortage of homes for sale and cash reigns supreme, boomers are winning the war hands down. That's right. The people with the most money traditionally win. That's not always true in war, I don't think. But I'm not like a war professor. I would just think that more money would be beneficial. Also, like some sort of motivation, like to win. Anyway. Oh my, I was on the wrong page. Sorry. The percentage of millennial and first-time homebuyers plummeted as they were confronted by record-high home prices, raging competition, and an influx of all-cash offers. But who wrote those all-cash offers? Were they always boomers, or were there like institutional investors involved? Meanwhile, boomers, the wealthiest generation, went on a buying spree. Many of them traded one home for another, using the proceeds from their sales to purchase their next pieces of real estate. Some were able to do so without a mortgage, which created another substantial advantage. Many millennials could be looking at their boomer parents with little envy this year. With a little envy this year, says Jessica Louts, the National Association of Realtors, Vice President of Research. Boomers were able to purchase their dream homes when millennials weren't even able to find a home to compromise on. It's such crap. The report is based on a survey of nearly 5,000 buyers who purchased a primary residence in the 12 months ending June of 2022. Who are today's home buyers? Boomers became the largest home buying group, closing on 39% of all U.S. homes. According to the National Association of Realtors, 2023 Home Buyers and Sellers Generational Trends Report, that was up from 29% in the previous year, a full 10%. Meanwhile, the share of millennials who successfully closed on homes fell from 28% down from 43%. This is the first time since 2014 that millennials didn't make up the largest percentage of buyers, as this group has been struggling with rising rents, student debt, and childcare costs. Home prices and rising mortgage interest rates made achieving home ownership even more financially challenging for the millennials. The percentage of first-time buyers, the group without any existing home equity to sink into their next purchases, dipped to 26%. This was down from 34% in the prior year and was the lowest percentage since NAR began measuring their home purchase in 1981. You know, I mean, if you're a real estate agent, okay, I'd say 80% of real estate agents target first-time home buyers and then hope to work with those people for the rest of their lives as they grow out of their starter homes and things of that nature. But the starter home is gone. So it's really maybe not the best group to be involved in. It might be that the best group to be involved in, would be, boomers. See, I fall in that weird category where I'm too young I'm not a boomer. I think I'm Generation X. I think. But I'm definitely not in a millennial situation, so it's very odd. I'm not going to talk about it too much because it's a strange phenomenon. But anyway, it says boomers have the money and they have the housing equity, and they were able to win out on multiple bid situations by either paying all cash or putting down a significant down payment. They're not downsizing. Baby boomers are purchasing the same size of home or larger than what they were living in before. Generation X, that often forgotten group, currently aged 43 to 57. Oh, wait a minute, that's me. The often forgotten group represented about 24% of buyers. Meanwhile, the silent generation, 77 and 97, purchased about 4% of homes. Wow. One bright spot was that the share of Generation Z buyers doubled from 2% to 4% of all sales. The group of buyers aged 18 to 23 purchased the smallest home, typically under 1,500 square feet. Well, they're just starting out. If you can buy a home at age 18 after working for it, good for you. We're seeing them sneak in the home buying market, she says Louts. But to be successful, many are receiving help. Nearly 1/3 of Generation Z buyers lived with family and saved up before becoming homeowners. Well, where else would they live? It doesn't make any sense. Who are today's home sellers? The pandemic and the remote work arrangements it forged appears to have altered migration patterns. As buyers sleuth out more affordable real estate markets, home sellers who moved generally did so to be closer to their friends and families and increasingly traveled further to be near them. Sellers who relocated moved a median 50 miles away from their previous homes, up from 15 miles last year. Unsurprisingly, baby boomers were also largest group of home sellers at 52. Now, I question if some of those home sales weren't because they've passed. That was up from 42% in the prior year. With each added year in their homes before selling, they're likely adding equity they can use to buy their next home. Interesting. I don't know. I just feel like there's a problem in housing with these, with not being able to have a starter home. It doesn't make any sense if you're a developer to build a starter home. I don't know. Tell me what you think. What did you think of the show tonight? Was it upbeat and lively? Is it something you would tell your friends about? Say, hey, man, there's this guy on YouTube and he talks about real estate all the time. I don't know if that's a punishment or a curse, but it happens nightly. You found it. With that, I'm going to head out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you tomorrow. I don't know that I'll be on time, though.